lying down. We're taking our arms out to the side and we'll take a few deep breaths and just let ourselves find the breath here. Allow ourselves to enter into our day here. And just wait to receive the practice. So rather than thinking of, I'm coming to do my yoga practice as we often do, we have a relationship where we're going to do yoga, or I've got to do my yoga. Here we can come into a relationship of feeling that we are receiving the yoga. We're opening ourselves up to let the yoga come to us. So let's take a couple of slower, deeper breaths here now. And as we take those slower, deeper breaths, we can feel the relationship with the breath in the belly, letting the breath soften the belly. And as the belly softens, the pelvic floor softens. Okay, now we're going to draw our knees in towards our chest, but we're going to keep the knees relatively wide. We're going to just kind of drape our hands over the knees, the top of the shins there. So it's a really loose Apanasana type of posture, and we're going to let ourselves just have a little rock across the back. So it's nice and spacious, it's open. We're breathing into that massaging action across the back. And then we'll let that come back into the center. And then we're going to bring our legs in towards each other. And then we're going to bring our hands to wrap them around either the shins or behind the thighs. So this time legs together. And then just continue that little rocking action across your back. Allowing the breath to flow. Okay, and then from here, we're then going to take the knees apart again and see if we can wrap around. So you might need to lift your head up if you're going to wrap around the shins and interlace the hands, or you can wrap around the back of the thighs if you need more space for your knees. And then again, we'll rock again. So we're just deepening that work there at the hips and through the back. The breath is flowing. Okay, let's come back to the center now. Let's release our feet to the floor, and we'll just take a moment to press into our feet to lift our hips up from the floor, lift the pelvis, and then have a little shake out of the buttocks so we can soften all of the soft tissue, loosen it around the hips and groin area. And then we'll bring the pelvis back down to the floor, and we'll take our arms out wide again. So we'll take a deep breath here. We'll have a little distance between our feet and our buttocks. And then again, just find the breath. And as we find the breath, we can allow the practice to just arise. So we're not striving to make the practice happen, but we're seekers rather than strivers here. So again, it's coming into a state of receptivity to allow the practice to come to us. And then we'll take this little soft dropping of the knees from side to side. So just allow the knees to move from side to side. So you're getting that little extension there through the lower back, through the belly, through the waist. Keeping the breath soft. And then we'll come back into the center. Find the breath again. We're just going to lift our feet up off the floor just a little way. So we're not pulling the knees right in towards the body into sort of full hip flexion there, but just a little distance. Okay, and then we're going to take the knees again from side to side. So the feet are relatively low down to the floor, but we're going to move the legs continuously from side to side. That's it. So this is going to involve a little bit more work through the abdominal muscles now. So let the breath respond to that as it needs to. Okay, we'll bring it back into the center again. Just rest your feet to the floor. Find your breath. And then let's bring the knees close in towards the torso now. So we're into full hip flexion. And again, we're just going to go for a continuous movement from side to side. So we're going to let the knees come over to one side and then over to the other. So this is going to be a deeper stretch through the back muscles now, all the way up towards the shoulder. So we can start to feel that loosening through the back, from the pelvis up to the shoulders. Okay, let's bring it back into the center now. Place your feet to the floor. Realign the body as you need to and take a deep breath. Just let go with that breath. Okay. Let's extend our right leg out to the floor and we'll draw the left knee in towards the chest. And we're going to take another twisting action, but we're also going to open the leg out to the opposite side too. So we can start by drawing, if we're drawing this left leg in towards us, we're going to take the leg over the other leg. So it's a twisting action there. And then we're going to draw back into the center and then we're going to open that knee out towards the left. So we're going for this kind of full rotation through the hip there, the femur in the hip joint. And we're feeling into the breath. So we can just feel how all of these actions that we're taking this morning, where we are kind of continuously moving the body, is a great way to sort of warm the body up. And each time we move, we might find that there's a little less resistance to the movement. There's a little more agreement in the movement, a little more giving of the body to the movement. Okay, we'll come back to the center, land that foot, bring the other foot to the floor as well. Press into the feet, realign yourselves, take a breath. Take a moment to rest in the pause. Even though we can predict what's coming, we don't know the actual experience until we're there in it. So here we take our time to just be in this pause, letting go of the projection into the future, because we know what that will look like, what it will appear like, but actually the experience of it, we only know once we're in it. So this is what we want to point back to in our yoga practice. We want to point to this direct experience, pratyaksha. Okay, let's extend the left leg to the floor. Let's draw the right knee in towards the chest. Take a breath. And then again, when you're ready, let's take that knee over towards the left. And we come into the twist. And then we bring ourselves back and we open that knee out to the right. So we're getting that stretch through the adductor muscles, through the inner thigh. And then you can move at your own pace from side to side. It might be that your back arm needs to move. Mine does on this side because it's my injured side, but you can just allow that to happen. We're feeling more into a flow rather than a sort of structure. So we often play between those two things in yoga, that we play with movement and we play with stillness and letting the body be held in a particular shape, position. But they're both valid. And when we feel into flow, there is more room there for play within that. The structure is it's loose. It's responsive to the needs of your body. Okay, let's bring the foot back to the floor. Let's place the other foot to the floor. Let's press into our feet. Let's lift up our pelvis again and have a little shake out of the hips. Well done. Take a breath. And then let's roll ourselves over onto our side. And we're going to slowly bring ourselves up from our side. And we're going to come all the way up. So take your time as much as you need to, so there's no dizziness. And then bring yourselves up. And we're going to come to stand with our feet in towards each other. So Tadasana. Okay, let's roll the shoulders back so the shoulder blades can just glide down the back of the rib cage. The heart can lift. The belly can tone. And as the belly tones, we can feel that we gather this flow up through the front of the body. Now, this is where it becomes interesting, because we feel into a structure and flow simultaneously in a posture such as this. So we've aligned our feet in close to each other. They may be touching, or there may be space between your feet if you need that for your ankles, knees, or hips. And we're looking to be aligned, to be orientated around this midline of the body, the central energetic channel, Madhya Nadi or Sushumna. And as we orientate ourselves around the very center plumb midline of the body, what we feel into that is often a sense of ease when we really drop into our center, because it's the part of us that is kind of most us. It's like a returning home. Okay. So we're going to take a very simple action, and we're going to take our arms in a wide circle above our head. And we're going to feel as we draw the arms up and we extend up into the fingertips that, again, we pick up this lift through the sides of the body, so we can feel the skin through the side of the body. Again, just lifting and gliding over the rib cage. And we're going to take the arms down, and we're going to do that a few times so we can feel each time we raise the arms up, the belly is toned, the chest is lifted, that we pick up that lift, and we might start to pick it from lower down so we can feel it very directly through the sides of the body to start with. You can continue doing this at your own pace, but then you might start to feel that you can get a sense of almost picking it up through the sides of the legs, picking it up from the feet. And it doesn't matter if you don't feel that directly, but we can tune into this lift coming from the feet, pressing the feet into the floor as we extend up. Okay, we're going to release our arms down when you're ready now. Take a breath or two here. Soften the forehead, release the jaw. Okay, let's step the feet to hip width apart. We're going to do a similar action now, but we're going to do it in a turn, in a twist. So we're going to let's turn the body towards the right, and then you can let your left knee bend if it needs to. So if you keep the legs straight and turn, that limits how far your pelvis can turn. If you bend the knee, it frees up the pelvis to turn a little more. So it might feel a little easier through the pelvis and through the sacrum in the lower back. So we're going to do the same thing again. We're going to raise our arms up. I'm going to step myself forward so I can do that. I'm going to raise our arms up in a wide circle and then feel the lift at that top point. Feel the lift through the body. That's it. Breathe. And again, we'll just move through this. Let's move through it 3 times this time. So let's make each time really count. Let's really lift into it. But again, not necessarily through striving, although there is an argument for striving in yoga, as the earliest yogis were called the strivers. But we're going to feel that actually we're doing this again to seek that state of integration. To come back to the center, find the breath. Check the alignment of your feet and realign if you need to, and then take a little turn to the other side. And again, you can let the right knee bend if it needs to bend to turn you to that side with comfort. Stay lifted through the midline of the body. And then again, 3 risings of the arms, lift, tone the belly. So although it's a simple action, we are putting energy into this. We're bringing power to the practice, Shakti and prana, life force to the practice. And then again, when we've moved through that 3 times, we're going to let ourselves rotate back into the center. Let's have a little shake out, a little shimmy out, whatever you need, a little wiggle. That's it. A little floss, maybe. And then we'll come back to the center and we'll stand with the feet hip width apart again. So this is a variation, Tadasana, with the feet apart. So in this position, there is sometimes more stability we feel because we have that alignment of the feet underneath the hips. So find the breath. Okay, we're going to bring the feet back together. Okay, we're going to raise our arms above our head and we're going to bring our hands together and then bring our hands down. So they're going to just sit behind the head because what we're going to do is we're going to open the elbows out wide. So it's going to bring us into a really strong engagement of the trapezius muscle, that triangular shaped muscle at the upper back. You should feel that engagement. So we bring the hands down and then we take the elbows wide. Okay. Fantastic. Now we're going to take this again, we're going to move, but we are going to feel that there is flow in the movement, but there is also a sense of structure and there's the precision of not being sort of fussy about our alignments, but being aware, being attentive, being clear. Okay, so we're going to hinge from the ankles, knees and hips. We're going to take ourselves down to an Utkatasana position. I'll show you this from the side, but you can still face towards the screen. We're going to open our arms up and we're going to sit down. So we keep tone in the belly. We try not to stick the bum out too much and we don't tuck either. So we keep that natural curvature in the lower back. Now we're going to move between those 2 positions now here. So we're going to press into the feet. We're going to rise up, bring the hands together behind the back and open out. across the upper back again. And then we're going to come and sit down, and again, we're just sitting down into it, breathing into it, into the Utkatasana. There's tone in the belly, there's lift in the chest. And then pushing through the feet, hands together, behind the back, open the elbows. So we want to feel that work in the trapezius. Belly toned. Okay. Now as you sit down into it, we can play a little. So we'll continue with that movement, but you can take this at your own pace now. So you don't have to move at the same time as me, but you might come down into your Utkatasana and have a little bit more play there. Okay, a little bounce, a little sway. Okay. Let's bring ourselves back up for a moment. Take the arms out wide. Release the arms, find the breath. There's a light lift in the chest, there's tone in the belly. The forehead is soft, the jaw is released. The breath is flowing. Okay. Take the feet about hip width apart again. Let's just have a little bit of movement. So let's make sure we are allowing for any residual gripping that might come into the body, because the body likes to take a form and then hold on to that form. So it can take a little bit of time for us to drop back into a sort of neutral experience whereby the body is no longer clinging to the past experience, you know, as our mind does as well. So we'll come back up to the center. We're going to take our arms out at shoulder height now. Now I want you to extend into the fingertips. So I want this to feel relatively dynamic through your arms. And what we can do is just take a little pull back of the arms. So if your arms were, this is an exaggeration, arms forwards, and then we'd pull them back. So look at me from the side. I don't know whether you can see this, that clearly I'm just going to take a very slight pull back of the arms. So I'm going to stabilize my shoulder blades with this action a little more. Tone the belly, lift the chest. And then we're going to keep the arms level like this at shoulder height. So there's going to be some tone in the belly to support this, and we're going to lean to one side. So we're going to look to keep the arms level. Rather than doing this, we're keeping them at that shoulder height as we turn. So it's going to limit how far we turn. Breath is steady. Okay, let's bring ourselves back up to the center. And we'll take a little turn to the other side again. So again, we're looking to keep the arms, if we can, level at that shoulder height. It's surprisingly strong work. Okay, we'll release the arms down and just let them hang and enjoy that wonderful sense of release that we get there through the shoulders now, through the upper arms, through the upper back and the base of the neck. Find the breath. Breath is fluid. So in much the same way as we did before, we'll take our arms out wide and we're going to take a turn towards the right. Again, you can let your left knee bend, and again, keeping that shoulder height, we're going to take a little lean over to one side so you can tip the body forwards. And then stay lifted as you do this. Keep that sense of lift through the midline of the body, and then tip the body back. There's tone in the belly. which will provide support for the lower back. Okay, let's bring it around to the center. If you're happy to keep the arms out wide here now, you can. But if you need to let them release for a moment, you can too. We'll turn to the other side. We'll find the breath. And then again, we can take a little tip forwards. See if you can keep this sense of drawing the arms back a little. And then we'll take a little tip back. Okay, let's come up to the center. Let's come back around to the front and release the arms. And again, let's shake it out. Let's move it out, wiggle it out, breathe it out. Roll back the shoulders. Take a deep breath. Okay, let's bring our feet back in towards each other. We're going to revisit our Utkatasana. So let's raise our arms up. Stand up, deepen the feet into the floor, reach into the fingertips. Take a full breath. And notice how when we take a deliberate full breath that we draw our attention to, it gathers us. The drawer together, as it's known as in the Upanishads, the breath, it's the drawer together. Brings our whole being into one single experience. Okay, let's bend the knees. Let's sit down. Let's breathe. Let's take our arms through that action that we did earlier. Let's just take the arms around in wide circles. Try not to drop into overarching the lumbar, so there is a little supportive tone in the belly. And we're lifting and lengthening. And again, we're feeling in that lift of the arms that we find this little pull up through the sides of the body. The breath flows. Okay, have a little wiggle out if you need to, have a little bounce if you need to. I know that this can become strong after a while, but we're going to take ourselves to it. In fact, let's do it with our feet apart. So just take your feet a little wider. This makes it easier for the turn. We're going to let ourselves turn to the right. And again, we're going to take that action, staying lifted through the body. Just drawing those circles with the arms. Of course, you can move into it in any way that you need to. And then we'll bring it back to the center. Have a little wiggle out in the center, but let's just keep that flexion of the hips. So we stay with the form of Utkatasana, and then we'll take ourselves to the other side. And again, you can let that back knee come forward so it allows the turn of the pelvis. And reach through. Breathe. Okay, let's come back to the center. Let's shake it out, wiggle it out, breathe it out. Back to Tadasana. Deep breaths. Forehead softens, jaw releases. Okay. We're going to take a wide stride and we are going to be coming into Ardha Chandrasana. So the half moon pose, so you might want a brick for this. Okay, so we can a brick or flat block if that's all you've got. We're going to pop that to the back right corner of our mat, and then we can take a wide stride. Okay, so in that wide stride we've got our brick about 1.5 feet probably in distance ahead of our front foot. It's basically the distance that is measuring out from here to here. the hinge of the hip joint to the armpit, okay? And then we're going to turn our left toes in, take the heel out, so we get a really good turn of that foot. Turn the front foot and leg out, the right foot and leg out, so we land with a heel to instep alignment, front heel to back instep. We often come into this through Trikonasana, but we're going to see if we can pretty much go straight into our Ardha Chandrasana, okay? So we'll take our right arm up and we'll lift up into it. We'll tone the belly, we'll lift the chest. So how we come into this from here is we're going to bend that front knee. We're going to take a little step in of the back foot and we're going to come all the way over and either come to the block or you can come to the floor. You can change the height of the brick as you wish. And then we're here. Now you may, if you feel nice and steady in your practice, you may raise your top arm up if the chest is open, but you don't need to. I'm keeping my hand on my hip because this is the side that I struggle with raising my arm through my various injuries. But you're probably okay. Find the breath there. Okay, now if you've raised that top arm, let's bring it back down. We'll bend the standing knee. We can look towards the back of the mat, and if we just let the back toes come down and touch the mat, we'll stabilize ourselves as we come out of it. We'll find some balance, but then we're going to take that big step back and we're going to bend our front knee and we're going to come straight into a Pajva Konasana. So you might need to slightly adjust the length of your stride. So we've got the front knee towards a right angle. We've got the same alignment, heel to instep. Forearm resting on the thigh, and then that top arm may come up and over to create that straight line through the left side of the body. Let's take some deep breaths here. Wonderful. Let's bring ourselves up. Let's bring that top arm back down. Let's place the hand on the thigh, push into the thigh, push into the foot. Inhale and come up. Turn the feet to the front, take a breath. Let's step the feet in towards each other. And again, we can shake it out. We can wiggle it out as we need to. Okay, if you're using your brick, swap it over to the other side so you've got it there ready for you. And again, a good generous stride on your mat. And we're going to turn the right toes in, take the heel out. So you can lift up onto the ball of the foot as you extend that heel back. So we get a little lengthening on the underside of the foot in that action. We can reach back into the heel. We can lift up the heel of the front foot and rotate on the ball of the foot. Place the heel down and then lift up the ball of the foot and then finish that turn. So when you rotate on the heel, you can then lengthen the underside of the foot from heel to toes. And again, we can just look and check our alignment and adjust if we need to. Let's raise up that lead arm. So we're just feeling into some length here. So it encourages us when we come down that we don't get into a position where we bring our hand in too close and then we close this part of the body. So we train ourselves to feel this openness, this space here. Belly is toned as we lift into the chest. Now again, you can place your back hand on your hip, you can bend that front knee, you can step the back foot in, and then we can just tip ourselves straight over into it, bringing our hand to our block or to the floor. And the block may be on the little toe side of your foot, which is often a little bit more stable unless you're really steady, and then it can come into alignment with the foot. The back leg lifts, it's in line with the floor or thereabouts. And again, If you feel steady and stable and open in the chest, your shoulders are stacked above one another, you're welcome to raise that top arm up. The breath flows. Okay, let's bring that top hand down. Let's bend the standing knee. Again, if you look towards the back of your mat, you can find the mat with your toes. So it will give you some stability to step back into that broad stride. And then let's bring our forearm onto the front thigh. So we'll just transition pretty much straight into Konasana. And we'll take that top arm up and over, and we'll extend between the back foot and the fingertips. We'll deepen the forearm into the thigh, and that helps to give us a little purchase, which kind of lifts the body up here. Reaching into the front knee as you extend into the back foot. Breathing. Just find a little moment of calm here if you can. And this is what's nice about a posture that we might hold in a more stable way, is that it can descend us into a real deep sense of stillness. Okay, let's rotate the body towards the floor now. We're going to come out by coming into Adho Mukha Svanasana. So let's lift up the back heel. Let's place both hands to the floor, shoulder width apart, downward facing dog. Step that front foot back, and that's it. Move through it as you need to. So we deepen the hands into the floor. We rise up through the arms, feed that lift into the body. Take some deep breaths, have a little sway across the hips as you need to, if you need to. So we can get a little bit habituated to moving in downward facing dog, I've noticed. And movement is great, but we don't want movement out of habit. We want movement out of response to the current needs. And it might be that actually your body is content to just be a little more still in this. There is the internal movement of the lift and rising through the body. There's the flow of the breath. So feel into it. And, I'm not saying don't move. Do move if you need to. Do move if it's serving you to move you to integration. But if it's just serving the purpose of distraction, then maybe try something else. Okay, let's bring our knees down to the floor. Walk the hands in. We'll sit back on the heels. We'll take support if we need to. Block or blocks between buttocks and heels. Blanket beneath the front of the ankles if you need it. You know the drill. And we'll sit with our hands in our lap. And we can either sit with our hands in this mudra, Bhairavi Bhairava mudra, Uddiyana mudra. Or we can rest our hands with the palms down on the thighs if we prefer. And then we'll just feel into the steady flow of the breath. Let the body just soften, melt into this. Okay. We're going to prepare ourselves to lay down for Shavasana. It's that time already. It comes around so quick in a 45-minute class. But of course, you can go through any of those movements that we did at the beginning of the class. It might be useful to come down into any version of the twist we did, or any version of the hugging of the knees into the chest and rolling that we did. And then just lay down and When you're ready, you'll close your eyes so you know how to bring yourselves into Shavasana. Arms a little away from the body, palms towards the ceiling. Or resting the hands on the belly or the chest. And then you may close your eyes. So you might need support for the head. I always like a little bit of light support. And then again, just let Shavasana arise in your experience. Recognize that you as a personality don't have to make Shavasana happen. If we lay ourselves down with a sense of openness, Shavasana will come to us. We will find ourselves in this state of relaxed attention. We'll find ourselves in this state of embodied awareness. And in a state of dissolving. So some of you may need to move yourselves now at 7:30. Some of you may have a little more time to stay where you are, so that's fine. You're welcome to do that, of course. But if you need to move, then bend your knees and place your feet to the floor. Adjust your pelvis if you need to. Take a breath. Take a little roll onto your side and have a breath or two here. Of course, it's fine if you're not doing all of these movements. If you're just staying in Shavasana, that's fine. Maybe take a roll onto your other side if you're happy to. And then maybe with a little stretch, little movement, whatever you need, a little wiggle of the toes and fingers. Come up, come and sit. We'll close our practice with a single Om together. So come and sit in any comfortable seated posture. If you've got time to do that with me, and bring your hands to your heart center. And we'll take a breath in to prepare. Thank you all very much. Namaste, Namo Vaha, reverence to you all. Lovely to see